So in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to do a basic movement animation by just dragging your parts out. So to start, the first thing we need to make sure is that the part we are trying to animate is not fully constrained. And what I mean by that is, take my pipe for example. I have a concentric with the body, but then it's not fully constrained because I can drag it back and forth. Like I just pulled it out. So take my bolts too. My bolt is concentric with the bonnet, but the bolt is still free to move up and down. Good. So the next thing we need to do is go into motion study, and in motion study make sure the auto key is selected. And what that does is, when you drag your timeline to wherever you want to animate it and move the part, SolidWorks is going to automatically create a new key point for that part at that current timeline. And if you hover over it, it also shows you a preview of what that button does. So we're going to drag our timeline to 3 seconds, and I'm going to pull this pipe out just a little bit. Good. As you can see, SolidWorks has had a key point at 3 seconds for the new location of this pipe. So I'm going to do the same thing for the bolts. Just left click, hold and drag up. Left click, hold and drag up. So I'm gonna drag the last one. Good. So the next thing we want to do is drag our timeline to 6 seconds. And what we want to do is move these bolts and the pipe back in. There are several ways we can do that. We can drag this pipe back in, and SolidWorks is going to create the keyframe at 6 seconds. But I'll show you another way to do it. Is you can, if you hover over this key point of the pipe at 0 seconds, SolidWorks shows you a preview of that pipe's location at that key point. So what we want to do is copy that key point, right click, copy, and come to my timeline, right click, paste. And now SolidWorks has added a new point at 6 seconds for the same location as the 0 seconds. So you want to do the same thing for the bolts by holding the control key and selecting all the key points for the bolt at 0 seconds, right click, copy, and come to 6 seconds, right click, paste. Good. So now we have our timeline. When I moved my timeline wasn't really on 6 seconds. As you can see, my key point is slightly off under. So there are several ways we can do it. We can drag this point till it snaps on that line. Snap on that line, or you can right click, edit key point, and type 6, and it moves it as well. So there are several ways you can do it. Right click, edit key point, type 6. Good. So the next thing we need to do is, before we move forward, you can also mirror your part and animate one part instead of moving these 4 bolts individually. I could have moved these 2 bolts, mirror these 2 bolts to this end, and whatever animation I did to this bolt will be applied to this bolt. So to show you what I mean, let's do the same thing for the pipe. So I'm going to go under linear components, mirror components, and I'm going to select my plane. I want to mirror it about the front plane, and the component I'm trying to mirror is my pipe. I'll click OK. So as you can see, SolidWorks has added the key point. Has mirrored the pipe. Sorry. So the next thing is, if I recalculate it, my pipe will move in the same direction at the same rate as this pipe. Good. So the next thing we want to do is let's add a camera. So under lights, camera and scene, add camera, and I'm just going to target by selection. I'm just going to select the bonnet, and maybe my camera, I would move it up a little bit by clicking it, and sorry for the glitch, clicking it and moving it up a little bit. And if you notice, my image is slightly crooked on this end, and the reason why my image is crooked is because my camera rotation is currently rotated at negative 0.1 degrees. I want it at 0. I don't want it rotate, so I'm just gonna type 0, and as you can see, my camera is straightened on this end, and I'll stroll all the way down, and under aspect ratio I want to select 16 by 9, which is also 1920 by 1080. Then I'll click OK. So the next thing we want to do is under orientation and camera views, right click, make sure you select disable playback of view keys, and under your light, camera and scene, hover down and make sure the camera we just added, which is camera 4, is selected. So let's recalculate. Everything looks good. So the next thing we want to do is save it. So we'll click save animation, browse to your your file location where you are trying to save it. In my case, the desktop. My file name, check, we want to save it as Microsoft AVI file on SolidWorks screen, but PhotoView 360 will also be available if you have it on if you have the add-in on your computer. And fixed aspect ratio, we want to use our camera aspect ratio, or if you don't want to use your camera aspect ratio, you can also type whatever camera aspect ratio you want on this, in this box over here. And under frames per seconds, we're gonna do 15. The frames to output is, you can either render the entire animation, time range, which is, for example, if you want to render it from 0 seconds to 2 seconds only, not the entire thing. And single frame is just you want to render one single frame. For this example, we want to render the entire animation. We'll select that and we'll click save. And we'll drop down full frames uncompressed. Click OK. Do we want to recalculate? We'll select yes. And now our image is saving and rendering. If you are rendering on the SolidWorks screen, it's much faster. It takes maybe a couple of minutes or seconds depending on how long your animation is. But if you are rendering it on PhotoView 360, it will take much longer. It could take anywhere from minutes to hours. Just to let you know. And now that our animation is done, we're going to browse to our file location, my desktop, and when I click my animation, and you can see my part moving in the direction I've dragged it. Thank you, and thank you for watching. And if there is any part that I went too fast on that you didn't understand, please feel free to leave a comment, and I will be more than happy to answer your question. Thanks for watching again. Bye.